bow weapon in Assassin's Creed Shadows is a real game changer and fun to play around with. Therefore I came up with another build for you guys here on the channel. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the most fun and absolutely devastating bow builds I've put together for Naoe in Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is what I'm calling the Unstoppable Bow build. A setup that turns Naoe into a whirlwind of control, bleed and poison affliction damage, while also making the most out of the vulnerability of enemies. With the right synergy of weapons, gear and engravings, this build lets you juggle crowds, inflict multiple afflictions and exploit vulnerability like never before. Whether you enjoy chaining assassinations together or going full on combat mode, this setup will give you the tools to dominate. Also, if you're new to the channel, a like would be really appreciated, and for more Assassin's Creed Shadows content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So with that being said, let's break it down. First up, the star of this build, the Equality Bow. This weapon has the insane engraving that gives perfect flow attacks the automatic ability that it pushes back enemies around Naoe and also damages everyone around her that is hit by the so-called shockwave. That means that every time you hit that timing window, you're not just punishing your target, but you're also controlling the entire group. But we're not stopping there. I've paired this with the engraving from Tsuyu's bow, which allows every hit to build up both poison and bleed afflictions simultaneously. And this right here is the core of this build. Stacking 2 afflictions at once means your enemies melt away faster while also keeping pressure up in longer fights. Every swing of the bow isn't just crowd control, it's guaranteed status damage. In order to get one of both weapons, you will need to have the Claws of Awaji DLC, that being Tsuyu's bow, which you will unlock early in the DLC via the main quest. The Equality Bow can be unlocked by everyone for free by completing the Way of the Bow quest, which will spawn at the hideout. For our secondary, you can use whatever you prefer for yourselves. In my case, I'm running with the Yukimitsu's Revenge due to the reason that with a Tanto equipped you can perform double assassinations and due to the engravings. However, since engravings on weapons are only active when using them, it does not really matter for this build which one you choose, since you will be playing with the bow as your main weapon most of the time. Next, let's talk gear. For the headpiece, I'm using the Bo Disciple Headband. The main engraving gives Naoe a guaranteed critical hit every time you switch targets. That's a massive DPS increase during combat, because with the bow's wide attacks and crowd control, you will be switching targets constantly. Now visually, I've transmogged this into the Yukari set, which you can unlock by defeating the final boss of the Claws of Awaji DLC. And honestly, it just looks so clean and really fits the aesthetic I want for this build. For the second engraving slot on the headband, you've got 2 solid choices. One, adding another target to chain assassinations with the bow, or giving Naoe the ability to vault over enemies while sprinting, which also makes them vulnerable. And in this case I went with the vault engraving, and here is why. So the base chain assassination skill already allows you to assassinate up to 3 targets, which is usually enough. So the vault ability not only comes up more often, but it also synergizes perfectly with our vulnerability mechanics. Sprint, vault and the enemy gets vulnerable, and suddenly they're wide open for a devastating bow combo, dealing extra damage. In order to get the Bo Disciple Headband, complete the Go with the Bow side quest. The quest that, as mentioned earlier, will also give you the Equality Bow and additionally the Bow Disciple outfit. For the light armor, I went with the Bow Master outfit for its engraving that Naoe deals a plus 50% damage when at full health, increasing DPS if you manage to not get hit. Also, I added the second engraving that increases armor damage by 48% when hitting vulnerable enemies, adding to the damage output and synergy of the vulnerable state of enemies. To unlock this gear piece, head over to Yura Castle over here on the map, clear all the Samurai Daisho and open the legendary chest, and there you go. Finally, for the trinket, I'm running the Elegance Defined, and this piece was practically made for a bow build. Its primary bonus adds a plus 1% posture damage for every mastery point in the bow skill tree. If you've invested deep into that tree, this stacks up insanely fast and lets you break guards and stagger enemies like it's nothing. The secondary engraving is just as deadly, plus 48% of armor piercing when hitting vulnerable enemies. And since we're constantly putting targets in a vulnerable state with posture attacks and vaults, we're taking full advantage of that bonus every single fight. This trinket can be obtained from a legendary chest over here on the map. The location is next to Yura Castle and the chest will be located on the top of a big ship which is still under construction. So how does this all come together in practice? Let me walk you through it. So first, start stealthy by chaining some assassinations together with the bow assassination skill. This allows you to take out a couple of enemies before actual combat. When spotted or when going full on combat, use the perfect flow attacks to push back crowds, dealing AoE damage while stacking void poison and bleed affliction. Also, if you're switching targets mid-combo, you're landing guaranteed crits thanks to the headband, that turns every engagement into a chain of lethal hits. So the moment you vault over an enemy, they become vulnerable, and that's when you go in with armor-piercing bow combos that shred them apart. And don't forget, posture damage from Elegance Defined ensures even heavily armored enemies break quickly under pressure. The end result is a rhythm where Naoe is never really on the defensive. You're controlling the pace of every fight, forcing vulnerability and punishing enemies with constant afflictions. Whether you're taking on patrols or diving into larger camps, this build feels both fluid and unstoppable. Also important for this build is to up the damage capabilities of both the bow in general and the abilities that you will be using, by spending points in the skill tree. And in my case, the ability that I'm using the most is the windstep ability. This creates a state in which Naoe hits faster and deals more damage. As can be seen in the gameplay, this ability lets you shred through entire groups of enemies in no time. And that's the unstoppable bow build for Naoe. Honestly, this setup has everything: crowd control, afflictions, vulnerability synergy, crits and posture damage. It's a build that feels great whether you're going in stealthy or full on combat. And it really shows just how versatile Naoe can be when you lean into the bow skill tree. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe for more Assassin's Creed Shadows content, and let me know in the comments what you think of this build or if you have any suggestions. I've got more guides and crazy setups coming soon, so stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next one.